stars of animation are shining. It's time to stay tuned. And now, here's your host, Phil Machi.
Hiya, folks. Welcome to the show. I'm so glad you came here to join me as we go behind the scenes with the people who make animation part of our culture. Tonight's special guest is Chuck Hüber. An American actor of stage and screen, Chuck's anime career began with Dragon Ball Z as Android 17 and Garlic Jr. Since then, he has gone on to voice hundreds of animated characters. He also provides the giant personality for the small in stature comic relief known as Emperor Pilaf in both the Dragon Ball series and recent theatrical release of Dragon Ball Super Broly. At the time of this recording, that film remains both the highest grossing Dragon Ball film and one of the top grossing anime films of all time. Chuck Hüber is here to talk about his acting techniques and more in just a few moments. But first, this.
I am an emperor! Emperor Pilaf!
I don't want to point fingers, but earlier when Shenron offered to grant our wishes, you did tell him, Shenron, please make us young again!
I stand by that. There's no point in taking over the world if you're too old and wrinkly to enjoy it.
Chuck Hüber, welcome to Stay Tuned.
Hi, Phil Machi.
Oh, it's
you are.
Oh,
is it Machi? Did I say it
it's
wrong?
Machi, yeah.
Machi. Phil Machi.
Yeah.
Oh, it's got a CH in it. Why don't they just change that to a K? I'm just asking the world.
Apparently, when my dad came here on a boat years ago, there was supposedly an accent over the I. He seems to think we have French descent, but he came here from Sicily.
I was going to say Macchione or something.
Right,
It's probably.
It must have been Machi with the accent on the I, but, you know.
That didn't stick.
No, I don't know why he decided to change that. I guess that's just...
You can go back to it, man. I put the umlauts in the U in my name after I was in Australia, and a handler at the convention for Supernova, his name was also Hüber, and he was like, we're really not German, we're Austrian, and our name originally had umlauts over it. I am your 27th cousin 4 times removed or something. And I was like, okay,
Whoa.
I'm putting umlauts. So right then I started dotting all the U's because I was like, umlauts are cool.
They are cool, and I kind of feel like that should be a greeting card. Like, hey, Chuck, you put the umlauts in Uber.
I did put them back because they were there
back,
originally,
yeah.
apparently.
Well, you could become an Uber driver, and then that would be like...
I get that from time to time.
Sorry.
Better than what I got in junior high.
As people come into your car, you would say, hey, do you even lift? And they would go,
Do you even lift, bro?
do you even lift? You're an Uber. All right, anyway, I'm sorry. That's completely... Where did we go?
I don't know. It's perfect. That's the way I like it. That's the way I like it.
Well, I wanted to start off by saying to you that the majority of your voice acting work, it's been in adaptations from Japanese anime. So how difficult would it be for you to cross over into American animation if you even wanted to do that?
As far as technically or craft-wise, I'd be super professional and ready to go. As far as location-wise, the DFW area does not do, because I live in Dallas, Fort Worth. Most of the legit animation stuff is done out of Los Angeles, and I don't live there.
Most of the legit. The illegitimate animation, however, is done.
Which I do plenty of. I do plenty of non-network. And anytime a fan or a young producer or some indie developer is like, would you do a voice for my thing? I'm always like, if it's under an hour, I'll do a voice for your thing.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense. It's very location based. I thought that the technology was making it so it wasn't as location heavy.
Yeah, that's true. That's especially true to some extent for some of the more recognizable names than I. I'm sure Chris Sabat has no problem booking LA work. He's also got a studio out there, so he can connect directly to that. But I'm not as voiceover focused in my acting as I am in the production and filmmaking side anyway. So.
Oh, okay. So what do you mean by that?
I mean, I'm well known for the anime stuff, and the anime stuff definitely pays the bills. But if I were focused on doing that, I'd probably be interested in trying to expand my range into but I'm more interested in expanding into TV and film.
Like live action?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I was on season 2 of American Crime. I've done 2 or 3 films in the last year and a half.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, I just did a recurring role on a show where I was a medical examiner.
Oh,
I'm
nice.
sorry, he's dead or whatever. I don't know.
And they're like, this is the cafeteria.
Yeah. It was called Lone Star Justice. Look for it.
Okay.
Lone Star Justice.
Very cool.
I will be the medical examiner.
That's great. So you do a little bit of work, obviously, with Dragon Ball Z.
A little bit.
Little bit.
Yeah, 20 years now. So.
Yeah. And Brawley got some theater play this year. How exciting was that for you?
A little bit, little $100 million take at the box office. That's all right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you go see it in the theater?
No, I did not. My motto is do nothing but leave nothing left undone, so that I am constantly working, but I try never to be rushed. I am not a happy person when I am rushed. So when it would come time to watch a 2-hour movie that I know all the actors in and I know the basic storyline, I'm probably not going to spend my time to do that. I believe I was invited to the premiere, but I was invited 3 days before it, and my schedule was already like, well, no, I can't do that. And if my children were interested in it, I would probably watch more of it, but they're not DB super fans. They're more, like the Hosada films or, good, awesome, brain-bendy, long-form anime.
Studio Ghibli.
Yeah, all that stuff. That's what we watch in our house if we're going to put on some anime.
I mean, that's some good stuff to watch.
Yeah, for sure.
Of course. One of the recurring characters that you play is, of course, Emperor Pilaf.
Oh, yeah, that guy. Yeah, I love Emperor Pilaf a lot.
Yeah, and he's technically a villain, but really he's a comic relief.
He's kind of a vaudevillian,
Right.
Him and his crew.
That's kind of a dream role, though, right? Like having a big campy villain. Isn't that like what everyone wants to play? I would think.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, recording Emperor Pilaf is probably some of the most fun I have in the studio because he has a lot of reactions and I get to just kind of uncork my brain and let whatever comes out, and we always laugh about, I get to kind of just see what happens.
I feel like there's a lot more of that big reaction in anime than in anything American. Was that a pretty fair assessment?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. In anime, it's like, here's your check. There's
right.
A little extra.
You were like lifting up a pen and just really working at it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Forget this isn't video.
I'm not showing the video, but that's funny that that was good. You were showing how hard it was to sign the checks. I appreciate that.
I did complete the beat, so they from the audio get the idea.
I think context clues are very important.
True. They are in life and all relationships.
In everything. Context clues are everything. I feel like there could be a dissertation written about emoji communication and the context of those emoji.
Yeah, that can become like you can't know. Like you can read something totally opposite on the internet. You just put the context in your own frame and suddenly someone's a horrible person. You're like,
right.
Why did they say that to their dying child? And it's like, oh, if you read it this way, it's really sweet.
Oh, yeah. It wasn't to their dying child. It was they were laying an egg and they were saying it to their egg. I don't know where I got that from.
Let's keep going with eggs. I love eggs. I had eggs this morning, sunny side up.
I had some eggs too.
It was a rare thing because normally I just have an apple for breakfast, and I was just like, yeah.
Do you eat the whole apple? I know people do that.
Absolutely.
Like stem and seeds and everything.
Every single. I'm not finishing this one right now as we talk, and I'm saving it for when we're finished. But an apple is it's an actor thing. If you're gonna be on mic, you have a bite of an apple. It keeps you from being all squishy.
Yeah.
I eat the whole thing, the seeds, and I crunch the little seeds. They have this little sort of aromatic flavor to them that's really nice.
Seeds do, and I've noticed that in general, like with other things that you can't avoid, for example, like strawberries or other things like that. You'll bite the seed and it's like a little burst of the flavor of the actual fruit.
Yeah. I eat fruits as if it's a video game, because if it were a video game, you would eat the whole fruit.
Oh, I like that. That's awesome.
It's true.
There are video games, though, where the items you get are not something you would want to eat. Like they show you a glass of beer. You wouldn't want to drink and then eat the glass.
Yeah, that's true. That's that. Don't eat the whole glass.
It's not recommended.
No, not the right thing to do.
Getting back to Pilaf, I feel like the bumbling bad guy is more prevalent in Eastern storytelling. Have you noticed that?
Yeah. As far as the anime goes, there was another show I did called Oedo Rocket where I played Kai, I think was his name. I can't remember, but he was also a bumbling bad guy. And then certainly in some of the films that we've dubbed over, I've played bumbling bad guys. That's, yeah, for sure. I'm trying to think of corollaries in sort of English narratives, and I can't really think of any.
I can think of a few, like, for example, it's usually sidekicks, though.
Right.
Like Disney's Hercules, you had Pain and Panic, you know?
Right.
Or you could argue that Captain Hook was even a bumbling bad guy.
Yeah, I guess a little bit.
Or Smee.
Yeah.
Maybe Smee would be a better...
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it is usually the sidekick. It's not
Right.
the actual bad guy. Yeah.
Yeah. The Dragon Ball series always reminded me of professional wrestling.
That's what I say all the time. I say that all the time, that DBZ appeals to the same ethos that professional wrestling appeals to, which is good guy, bad guy, power up, power up, power up, power up, tag, and fight. And eventually good guy wins.
Absolutely. And
If bad guy wins, good guy will win next episode.
exactly. Yeah, bad guy wins for now. But it also has that, like, it has that soap opera storytelling style. You know what I mean? It's where it's just very dramatic and strung out and
Yep.
complicated. Like, these stories can get incredibly complicated over time.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was never up on the professional wrestling side of things as a kid or even now, but I kind of enjoy its resurgence. I enjoy, like, fans coming up to the table who are like, I do professional wrestling now. And I'm like, oh, show me your character, show me your thing. And they show me their costume and like a fight that they've done. And that's real skill. That's real technical skill. The professional wrestlers, you know, people are like, it's fake. And it's like, it is dramatized, but what they are doing is in no way, shape, or form fake.
Correct. Yeah, that's like saying, like, a gymnast is not doing their routine for the first time. No, they're not. They rehearsed it.
Yeah, it's
But
like
they're still
saying
doing it.
stuntmen are fake. It's like,
Right.
no, they're really getting set on fire. It's
Right.
just that they're not burning their actual body. I mean, they could,
Right.
but
It was
they're hopefully
pre-calculated.
Yes. Yeah, that's what it is.
So when
Well,
when those fans come up to you, do they ever ask really complicated fan questions regarding, you know, oh, in this episode about this and this and this, and you're just like, oh, I can't remember all of that stuff.
Yeah, occasionally you'll get fans who want inside information into the character as far as what the character was thinking that's not disclosed in the narrative. And I can have some, you know, a little bit of insight into that as to what I think Android 17 was thinking when he did X or Y. And I usually just prompt them to remind me of what was going on, because I remember everything I recorded eventually, but you just have to tell me about it. But as far as like complicated things with episodes, I tap out of those pretty quick. Like, oh, I can't, there's no way for me to remember everything that happens after 250, 260 characters, however many I've done now, that, you know, you just can't be. Oh, I'll have fans come up and ask me to sign something, and I'll be like, I don't think I was in this. And then they pull up my IMDb and they're like, yes, you were the lead. And I'm like, oh, okay, let me sign it.
Oh, oops. No, you must be thinking of the guy without the umlauts.
That's right. Kyle Hebert, not Chuck Hüber.
That's right. Unlike recording for an original English-based production, in anime, the animation's already complete. So how different is that recording process for you?
Yeah, so prelay is where you record the script just like an actor with a bunch of other actors in a studio. You get to react off each other. You get to kind of mess around, make the moment work better, figure out maybe there's a better way to say the line. And there's a lot more ability to adjust in terms of making a moment work. When you are locked into the animation, as we are in dubbing the English-Japanese anime, the job is much harder. You're by yourself in the booth. The other characters may not be recorded yet. You're reacting off your own imagination and what you're seeing visually. And then you have to fit your mouth into the mouth flaps so that it looks like you're, and sometimes the writer has it in their head a different way than you would say it. And so then the line has to adjust because your speed or your pace or your rhythm is different. So there's a lot more technical. I describe dubbing Japanese anime as the most creative data entry job you could possibly have.
Okay.
It's basically data entry. It's you're taking artists and making them fit their creativity into these very specific sort of tap dance like moves that the mouth is making. It's a skill and it's definitely a craft. I'm not sure it rises to the level of acting art form. It definitely has craft to it, but it is limited in its ability to display the far reaches of what an actor is able to accomplish because of its limitations. But those limitations serve a purpose because we get to be the surfers on top of this gorgeous wave of Japanese animation, the stories, the characters, the art that's already been done. We get to just fit our little piece into that. And you, as an actor, you have to be humble to that idea so that it's not about you. It's about making sure you're not screwing up what they've done, making sure that you are doing everything you can to stay out of the way of the story and out of the way of the art form and just contribute your piece, your little tiny piece to the overall
That's
product.
interesting, though. I think there's a lot of voice actors and fans would probably agree. I mean, I know a lot of folks like to stick with the original recordings, but I also know there are some very talented American actors who the fans have come to love those portrayals.
Sure. Definitely. There are certain voice actors who take it to its outward limit in terms of what they're able to do within the confines of the dubbing process.
I would say like a name that comes to mind for me would be Maddie Blaustein, the original Meowth for Pokemon when that first was brought to the States in the late 90s.
I was not a Pokemon.
Oh.
I have not Pokemon.
It's okay. I just Pokemon right here on my chair.
Uh-oh.
More with Chuck Hüber after this. We're back with Chuck Hüber talking about English voice acting for Japanese anime.
Yeah, for sure. And it's not to decry or to detract from what actors are doing in the booth. It's just a fact of the form that it's a limited form in that way. And it's not limited in the way that Shakespeare is. Shakespeare is limited in a way that can allow great expansion of the acting craft. The anime dubbing is, there are certainly fine actors. There are several fine actors working within the Japanese anime English dubbing crew. And that usually, for me, comes to light when I see some of their other work. Not that you can't tell within the dub work that they do whether or not they're a good actor, but
it's more of a spectrum.
But when you're in that art form, an actor's skill should be invisible. You shouldn't be seeing the actor's skill. You shouldn't be seeing the actor at all. And you should be seeing the character. You shouldn't be focused on what actor X or actor Y is able to do. It's more their ability to disappear so that you are simply viewing the art form as the Japanese have made it.
That's a really good point. And I think right there it hits on something that I've been thinking about a lot in recent years. I would imagine any voice actor is thinking about this too, with the uptick in celebrity voice contribution, where I feel like I can't look at that character if you're constantly reminding me that it's the celebrity doing it. You know what I mean?
Nick Cage in the Spider-Verse, that was one where he disappeared for me. Yeah. And I was like, holy cow, I didn't even realize that was Nick Cage.
Absolutely.
And yeah, there are some times where I'm like, God, I know that voice.
Well, like Tom Hanks is a great example. I'm not knocking his portrayal of Woody in Toy Story, but he was also in Polar Express. And again, it was Tom Hanks doing Tom Hanks's voice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's very much a tradition. There are certain actors who are sort of commodities unto themselves in that what they do is a thing that It's a Wonderful Life. Oh God, how can I forget the actor?
Jimmy Stewart?
Yeah, Jimmy Stewart. That's another Jimmy Stewart's a Tom Hanks. And you love them. They're friends. The actor themselves is a character in your life that disappears into the character of the movie. So they've leveled up in a certain way.
That's true.
Brad Pitt until Snatch, for all of us actors, we were like, Brad Pitt. And we were kind of poo-poo because he was all pretty and famous and we hated him because we wanted his jobs. But then, he came out, in Snatch and everybody, and then what's the one with Ed Norton too? That was another good one.
Yeah. Lock, Stock, and Two Smoke.
And at that one, the one where Ed Norton blows up all this stuff at the end. I can't believe I'm forgetting. I'm the worst with names.
The Incredible Hulk.
No.
I mean, that's technically Ed Norton blowing things up at the end.
That's true. Everyone listening right now is screaming the name of the movie. I love this.
Yeah.
Where Ed Norton was Brad Pitt named Ed Norton punches.
Oh, Fight Club.
Fight Club, duh.
Well, see, no, look, we did the right thing. We weren't supposed to talk about it.
Oh, that's oosh. But yeah, up until the moment when Brad Pitt started branching out from what they were targeting him as, suddenly after Snatch, everybody was like, okay, Brad Pitt can act. We're all like, Which, of course, he can act. He's done 30 movies, and you've done 3, you rube. Why are you trying to claim that you're better? Because your local regional theater critic loved your portrayal of, whatever.
I was really great as tree number 3.
Yeah, nobody cares. So, yeah, of course Brad Pitt can act. But it's when they get broken out of their sort of product mold that we get to see what the actor can do. I think Tom Hanks tried a bit with, if you really look at some of his performances, they're obviously all very different performances. He's always recognizably Tom Hanks, but The Terminal, he was doing the Eastern accent, but it was
Forrest
still
Gump.
Tom Hanks.
You could say Forrest Gump was a little.
Forrest Gump for sure. Yeah, Forrest Gump, he was completely subsumed in that 100%.
That's true.
But yeah, I mean, people get cast as things. Even voice actors get cast as things because they're good at doing it. They're good at doing that thing. And it's recognizable for them. I get cast a lot as crazy people or scientists or dads who are flawed in some way. I have a certain quality to my voice, a certain delivery that lends itself to sort of eccentricity of characters. So
And you kind of look like a crazy dad scientist.
I am a crazy dad scientist. Truth be told, if I had unlimited wealth, I would be out in my tinker workshop inventing things all day long. I have this great idea for like a cuckoo clock weight-based ceiling fan made out of 2-liter bottles for the third world. I really wanted to. Like, you just one of the things was I was in Africa and like the generator could only run for 2 hours a night and there was no electricity. And when just that ceiling fan was on, I was like, oh, that'd be great. I was like, wouldn't it be great if that like you pulled a weight down and a big weight went up and that weight pulled down and it turned the ceiling fan.
I'm not sure if that's an invention so much as it is a Rube Goldberg device.
And I love Rube Goldberg. It's one of my favorites.
Absolutely.
But it is a Rube Goldberg device. But if you could make it out of 2-liter bottles, that would.
Sure.
If anyone's out there and they want to take that, just make it and just credit me that I gave you the idea. I have a garbage bag full of 2-liter bottles under my son's bed that I'm promising to use someday. And I just want to be in my workshop making stuff.
It's a fine line between hoarder and inventor.
This is true. This is true. You're not telling funny stories.
Oh no, I'm just being real. I'm sorry. So was voice acting for you more of like a byproduct then, or was the on-camera thing the main focus from the beginning?
Theater was the focus from the beginning. I went to the Goodman School of Drama at DePaul University in Chicago. I quit my 3rd year to start working at the Steppenwolf Theater, and after that was cast in the Court Theater's production, and then I moved on to the Goodman Theater and did Marvin's Room, which they turned into a movie with Leonardo DiCaprio in my role, and I was like, I didn't even get an audition. I know how to do it better than him. And then you get over yourself and you just keep working. But yeah, theater
He's the
was
Brad
my
Pitt
thing.
of that movie for you.
That's right. The egos on unsuccessful actors or almost successful actors. It's really terrible.
Imagine them on successful actors.
It's true. So many people who are like, I'm a filmmaker. Have you ever made a film? No, but I'm going to. Well,
Yeah, I'm writing right now.
you're a film going to be maker. You're not a filmmaker. Go make a film and then you're a filmmaker.
Yeah, I'd rather be a has-been than a never was-been.
Yeah, it's true. That's true. And there is no has-been. That's just when you retire or quit. But yeah, I started in theater. I quit my college to do theater. I did end up going back to college to finish and get my degree. And I worked in television, film, and voiceover in Chicago. And then we were raising a family, and raising a family in Chicago is tough. The market in Dallas-Fort Worth and Chicago are similar. Dallas-Fort Worth is way less expensive to live in. And so
I would imagine it blows.
What blows? Chicago? Because
Yeah.
it's a windy city.
Yeah.
Technically not from the wind. It was named the Windy City because of the politicians.
Oh, there you go.
But yeah, it is also
Thank
windy
you for
there.
saving my bad joke. I appreciate it.
No, it's all right. But yeah, I had gone to high school here. My mom, when she remarried, married a guy who lived down here. So it was a pretty easy jump to go from Chicago back to DFW. And I started a theater company here.
Oh,
Yeah, Moonwater Theater Company. We did that for 4 or 5 years. And we were doing an improv show called Fuzzy Logic. And one of my compatriots in the theater company came into rehearsals one day and was like, hey, you should go audition for this Dragon Balls thing. And I was like, Dragon Balls? That sounds like porn. And he was like, no, it's Japanese anime. And I'm like, okay, it's definitely porn then. He was like,
no, it's not hentai. It's
I didn't even know what hentai. The first time I learned what hentai was, I was at a convention and it said
It's a spicy noodle dish. I'm just.
I thought it was. It had a panel of video hentai viewing, and I was like, "Oh, let me check with this." And I'm like, "Oh, let me see what's in here." And I opened the door, and I was like, "Ah!" and like slammed the door. I was like, "Dear God,
Yeah.
that's not for me."
It's like those old black and white skits opening the door and the person showering, and you're like, you panic and close the door.
That's exactly what it felt like.
Yeah. So if people want to get on the Chuck bandwagon right now and do the Chuck thing, where can they see you next, or where can they best support your work?
Yeah, DB Super obviously is still going. I'm Kurogiri in My Hero Academia. Got a couple other roles. I am on the Twitter at Chuck_Hüber. I teach my master classes, and people think this is absurd, but really you just email me. My email is fireflyworks@gmail.com for more information about my masterclass. People are like, don't the fans torture you with emails? I'm like, no, occasionally they get one who's like, I think you're cool. And you say, thank you. And then they leave you alone. They just want to know they connected. One time I did a movie with Paul Giamatti and I emailed him something and he emailed me back. And I was like, oh, that's what it feels like. Because
and you were like, I think you're cool.
I forget what I sent him something funny. I forget what it was, but I sent him a meme or something. And he said, thanks, that made my day. And I just sent back a smiley face. And then I was like, and now we don't talk to him ever again. Because, hey, do you want to come over for dinner? No, that's not.
Then you sit there obsessing. You're like, I sent him a smiley. I should have sent him a wink, but maybe that would be too forward.
Sure.
Maybe a grin would have been better.
Yeah. You get all like, awkward. But yeah, part of that thing about crafting your image or whatever is your accessibility. The less accessible you are, the more of a star you are. And I have way too many children and way too much family to try to be a star. So it's easier for me to be accessible.
I love being accessible. You kidding me? Like, I think it's great. I think it makes you human. And, I think people, if they feel apprehensive of you because of their own thoughts, that's on them. You shouldn't make it like the Great Wall of China between you and people.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, some people like that. They like to feel that distance and that unreachability.
Well, that's why you keep two email accounts. You keep one for the people who say, I think you're cool, and you keep one for people who love you and don't want to talk to you ever. When I have voice actors on the show, I like to give them something weird to read, but something that is still appropriately fitting the character that I kind of have in mind of that person, or that they're best known for. So I sent you something. It is 205 years old.
Right.
This was after Napoleon was defeated one of the times.
Right.
And he said goodbye to all of his generals and such. And so I thought if you could read this as Pilaf, it would be appropriate.
I like it. Yeah. So I pulled it up. You ready? You guys ready? This is Emperor Pilaf as Napoleon Bonaparte, April 20th, 1814.
Soldiers of my old guard, I bid you farewell. For 20 years, I have constantly accompanied you on the road to honor and glory. In these latter times, as in the days of our prosperity, you have invariably been models of courage and fidelity. With men such as you, our cause could not be lost, but the war would have been interminable. It would have been civil war, and that would have entailed deeper misfortunes on France. I have sacrificed all of my interests to those of the country. I go, but you, my friends, will continue to serve France. Her happiness was my only thought. It will still be the object of my wishes. Do not regret my fate. If I have consented to survive, it is to serve your glory. I intend to write the history of the great achievements we have performed together. Adieu, my friends. Would I could press you all to my heart. Go.
That was wonderful. Bravo.
Thank you.
It was very fitting of him, right? It's a pretty fitting.
No, it's perfect. I think there should be an anime, and Napoleon should be cast as me using the Pilaf voice.
And I didn't think about it before, but you're almost channeling a little bit of Michael Palin.
Oh, thank you. I love that. That's a great. I'm actually channeling. There was a show back in the day called All in the Family.
Of course.
So that is actually my worst impression of Edith Bunker from All in the Family. Oh, Archie. So that's
totally
really
hear that. Yes, absolutely.
It's literally where I got the voice.
Oh, that's awesome. I didn't even think to ask you that, but
I stole it.
It's a good origin story. That's really good. I like that. But yeah, I kept thinking like, Nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition.
It's true. Nobody expects it.
They don't. Their weapons are surprise and fear. I may have watched a little too much Monty Python in my time.
No such thing as too much Monty Python.
This is a good, true point. Well, Chuck, thank you so much for being here. This is a real treat, and I love getting to hear your story about theater because, again, I come from the theater myself, and I have a great love for it. So it's great to hear actors that get their start and continue doing theater. I think that's wonderful.
Yeah.
And your theater company you started, people can come visit you?
No, we folded. That was 10, 15 years ago.
Oh.
It didn't last.
Oh.
There might be another theater company in my future. You never can tell.
Oh, that was a little bit of, was it Greta Garbo?
Sure. I don't know. It was generalized old Hollywood.
Oh, yes. I'll be in my trailer.
I will be in my trailer.
Really, I will.
Really?
Thanks again for being here, Chuck.
Yeah, my pleasure, Phil.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, that's gonna do it for this episode. Special thanks go out once again to Chuck Hüber for joining us here on the show. And as always, thanks to all of you listening in at home. If you're wondering how to support me and stay tuned, simply visit patreon.com/Phil Machi. Subscribing there will get you access to cool rewards like exclusive interview outtakes, my cartoon reviews, and monthly video updates. Curious about my own cartoon creations? Check out my original comic books at retailsunshine.com. You can even reach out to me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook under the handles of both Retail Sunshine and Phil Machi. And consider joining the amazing Stay Tuned community on Facebook. Visit facebook.com/groups/Stay Tuners. I've been Phil Machi, you've been a wonderful audience, and until next time, keep those eyeballs peeled, those ears open, and be sure to stay tuned.